Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Where Were You When It Mattered Pod. So, today, today we are going to get into something a little controversial, a little something that I probably, I'm going to get myself into trouble for, but that's all right. That's all right. The reason I'm here is to talk about things that need to be said, and we're going to talk about a very dangerous trend that I see going on right now, literally all over the internet. I see it here. I see it on TikTok. I see it on Instagram. I see it literally every single place that I go. And that is people using a hateful, let me repeat that one more time, hateful human being and portraying them as a martyr. Portraying them in some way that is just completely and utterly false to the actual narrative of the type of human being that this person was. Okay? All right. So let's just talk about it. Let's just get out there. Charlie Kirk was not a martyr by any means. And to call that individual a martyr is complete and utter lunacy. I mean, complete and utter lunacy. Did you try and compare that man to somebody like Jesus Christ? Are you, what? What? Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? How? How can you draw a line between those two individuals and honestly think to yourself, deep down in your heart, that both of them are comparable to one another? Because they are not in any way, shape, or form. Charlie Kirk should not be celebrated in any way, shape, or form. It shouldn't be celebrated that he was unalived. Don't get me wrong. That's nothing to be happy about either. But he shouldn't be celebrated for his life and whatever accomplishments people claim that he have. Because again, let's break it down of what type of an individual that these people are trying to portray as some martyr, someone that should be admired. No, not in any way, shape, or form. He spread nothing but hate and bigotry, homophobia. He literally spread hate against every religious group that wasn't his own. He spread all that on a daily basis. And to say that he's like Jesus, no, Jesus spread love for all of mankind, not just a certain group of them, like he would have had you believe. No, all of mankind, not just certain groups. So that's a big difference right there. So again, you can't compare the two. Nope, not even a little bit. Because let's dive into that on how we can say, no, this man was filled with hate. He can literally be quoted as saying that if he were to get on an aircraft and the pilot was an African American, he would question whether or not they were qualified. If he were going to have a surgery, he would question an African American doctor to see whether or not they were qualified. Why? Because his heart was filled with hate and biased and racism. God made everybody. He didn't make just Caucasian people. Wild concept, right, guys? That's a wild concept. Because let's dive even deeper into that, guys. Because a lot of you can literally go to your churches, to your places of worship every day of the week for all you want, and you can give whatever lip service you want, and you can claim to be whatever you want, and can claim to be as close to God as much as you want. But guess what? God can see into you. He can see your soul. He can see your heart. And he knows there's hate there. So all your lip service is going to do you nothing in the end. If all that your heart holds is hate. And that's what that man's heart was filled with. Was hate and biased. And that is all he wanted to spread. So again, to compare the two, you can't. You simply can't. And again, maybe it's time to look in the mirror at yourself. Maybe it's time to look in the mirror at yourself. If you do go and you give this lip service, but you still hold hate for any group. Again, God could see that hate in your heart. So what is that lip service going to get you? It's not going to get you anything. So maybe you should just, I don't know, maybe get rid of all that hate in your heart. Crazy concept on that one, right, guys? Wow! And again, I'm not condoning in any way, shape, or form what happened, because I don't condone violence against other people who are literally just trying to speak their mind like I'm trying to do right now. And I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of people who are going to hate what I have to say, but that's okay. That's okay. Because right now, a lot of people are losing their jobs. They're getting fired from their places of work because of the things that they're saying online about the incident that took place. And that's just a wild turn of events right there, because again, if you look at that man, he can be quoted as saying that anybody should be able to say any horrible thing they want, no matter how horrible that thing is. And it doesn't matter whose feelings it hurts, because the Second Amendment should be held up at all costs. Those are his wishes. That is the world that this man fought for, that he advocated for. And now that people are expressing themselves and using that freedom of speech that he fought so hard to keep, well, guess what, guys? They're being penalized. They're being penalized. They're being fired for speaking their mind. And again, that's wild. That is a wild turn of events right there, guys. That is a wild turn of events. In a way, if you think about it, it's kind of dishonoring the man's memory if you're getting mad at the things people have to say about him. Because, wow, he fought so hard for us to say those things. So, I mean, who's really at the wrong then, guys? Who's really in the wrong then? Is it me speaking my mind and using my First Amendment right and freedom of speech? Or is it you for getting me mad at me for saying the things that I feel and using my freedom of speech? Again, guys, time to take a look in the mirror. Time to take a look in the mirror. Now, another point that I really want to touch base on is, again, I don't condone what happened. I don't. Not even a little bit. But everybody's saying, oh, it shouldn't have happened. This, the pew pew violence. He shouldn't have been unalived that way. Again, this man can be quoted as saying that a few unalivings every year due to pew pew violence is 100% acceptable. That is an acceptable price that can be paid to protect the Second Amendment. Wow. Well, be careful for what you wish for, because you just might get it. You just turned into one of those acceptable losses that you said and advocated for to keep that Second Amendment. And somebody said something, I don't even know where I heard it, but it was a very valid point. He's a lucky man in a way, because not a lot of people get to live to see the consequences of the world that they advocated for. This is the world that this man literally woke up every day and advocated for. Went out of his way to make it acceptable for people to say, no, this should be normal. This cost of unaliving every year, it's worth it to keep that Second Amendment. This is the world he advocated for, that he wanted, that he fought for so hard every single day. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. You just might get it. Here's the wild thing. Again, this man that everybody is praising, that everybody is saying that we should hold up, that we should praise as a martyr, the same day that he was unalived, well, guess what? At his school, filled with young ones, there was another mass incident of pew pew, and children were unalived. Children. Innocent children that were not filled with hate, that were not filled with bias, that did not want a world filled with hate and violence. They were pure and they were innocent. Did a single news organization, did a single Republican shed a tear for those children? No. They were too busy lifting up and glorifying a man who literally spread hate, who made him more important than children. And I want you guys to let that sink in for a second. I want you guys to let that sink in for a second. How is a hateful individual to be glorified and the innocence of children to be ignored and set aside? How is that something that's acceptable in this world? Well, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. But that's how it is right now, guys. That's how it is, unfortunately. And that's a sad, sad, sad thing to have to admit and have to face. That's the point we're at right now, where a sitting president of the United States is willing to glorify a hateful individual over children. Why is this the point that it took where one of their own became the victim of the world that they've advocated for? when literally children across the country every day are dying from this kind of violence. People in the streets every day are victims, yet they're forgotten, but this hateful man is lifted up and put on a pedestal. And I know one of his biggest things was, oh, how much of that is due to gang violence? Well, here's the thing, guys. When you live in a country when there's more of the pew-pews than there are people, I'm going to go out on a limb and just say, I don't know. Maybe they're readily available literally anywhere. You can walk into a convention, a show, and you don't even have to show an ID or go through any background check or whatever. Just hand somebody some cash, and guess what? You walk out with one. So maybe, just maybe, if we lived in a society where we didn't have more of them than we had actual people, all that would be greatly reduced because they'd be so hard to get a hold of, or B, just go away. Because again, they're so hard to get a hold of. But that's not what we want. Nope. Because again, according to the Martyr, a few of these unalivings each year is acceptable for us to keep that amount of them here. Now, that just sounds crazy again when you say something like that out loud. That sounds crazy when you say something like that out loud. But again, it's something that we all have to kind of accept and come to grips with and just, hey, that's the world we live in, and move on. I don't want to do that, guys. I don't want to just accept that we take hateful individuals and glorify them in such a way that is happening right now, because all that does is fuel more hate. All that does is give more people like that more cause. Because again, they turn him into a martyr. For what reason? For what reason? I've been just I just I can't get it, guys. I can't understand it. I really can't. If somebody could help me, I'd greatly appreciate it, but do it slow. Do it slow. Draw me some pictures. I want you to pretend like I'm a third grader, please. Because it's going to be real hard for me to understand how you can take somebody with that much hate, that much bias, and glorify them in such a way. You're going to have to break that one down for me, guys. Again, like I'm in third grade. Lots of pictures. Take it slow. I'm a little thick-headed. I get that. Comes with old age. You get set in your ways. So, I mean, I guess the reason I wanted to make this is because I think that we can we can kind of stop things like this from happening, but we really have to try. And unfortunately, we as a country, as a nation, as a whole, we just don't have that kind of willpower. We don't. Why? Because we are a nation of fear. Because of people like him stoking fear of things that are different than you. And what comes from fear, guys? What comes from fear? Fear turns into terror. And then when you're in terror, you turn into fight or flight. When you're in fight or flight, guys, well, you just lash out. You lash out, and that turns into anger and rage and hate. And that's where it all comes from. It all comes from that fear. So as a whole, we need to be less fearful, have the willpower to stop hating people that are different than us. That's going to be real hard because unfortunately that's what our country is based on. It's based on just hate. And there's a lot of people to blame for that. I mean, like I said, current administration is literally glorifying a hate monger. That's wild. That's a wild thing to come to grips with. And that puts a little fear into me. It puts a little fear into me. And somebody with that much power glorifies somebody with that much hate. That's just a slippery slope, guys. That's just a slippery slope. That puts fear into me. But I'm not going to let that fear turn into hate, anger, rage. No, I'm going to be a big boy. I'm going to put my big boy pants on. And I'm going to deal with it. Yeah, I'm going to deal with it. So all you little Republicans and all you little MAGA people running around crying and glorifying a man with hate, what does that really say about you? What does that really say about you guys? Again, just take the time, look in the mirror, look in your heart, remember that the God that you claim you love, he can see that hate in your heart. He can see that hate in your heart. Remember that next Sunday. Remember that next time you want to, you know, give Charlie Kirk a little prayer. And then go out on a limb and say he's not in a place where you can hear him, guys. Sorry to say. Sorry to say. But the Lord God saw what kind of human being he was, and I don't think he got a ticket in. Just saying. Just saying. And on that note, thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you could go ahead and give a like, subscribe to this channel, that would really help me out. Go to my channel there. There's a link. Check out my other channels. There's two more. There's the Unbearable Podcast, and then there is the Villainous Psychology Podcast. Guys, give those a watch if you can. Until next time, I'll see you guys then.